Hello, my name, for those who don't know me, is Brother Sean, and I would like to share with you a heart response on my understanding of how spiritual impoverishment rapes our divinity. But first, let us look at those two words, spiritual impoverishment. What does that mean for you? What is it saying to your heart? Well, for me, spiritual impoverishment means that if I deny my heart what it is saying to me, then I end up poor. So it's a spiritual poverty. And many who live in this beautiful world have chosen spiritual poverty, which has impoverished their being because they have placed on their things to do list a different agenda for success. A way of life for them would be more focused not on the supreme or the divine or entering a loving relationship with the selfless God, but nurture their whims and their fancies around materialism and accruing wealth. And there's nothing wrong with accruing wealth, providing there is balance and harmony, because those two together nurture divine connectedness. And maybe that is one of the root causes today, don't you think, of why we witness so much pain and sorrow and hardship in a world that is beautiful and yet crying for God's children to come back to a place of balance. There are many, many divisions within our world of the haves and the have-nots. We have a saying here in England that north of Watford Gap, it's back to black pudding land and clogs. It's as if we're an inferior race up north. If anything, the people up north are probably more loving, more tolerant, more forgiving, more accepting than our brothers and sisters south of Watford Gap. But let us come back to spiritual impoverishment. How do we face it head on? Well, first I would like to read to you the reflection for today, which we read in morning prayer this morning. And it is a beautiful reflection. Thank me in the midst of the crucible, when things seem all wrong. Look for growth opportunities. Especially look for areas where you need to let go, leaving your cares in my able hands. This is the risen cosmic Christ speaking to our hearts. Do you trust me to orchestrate your life events as I choose? Or are you still trying to make things go according to your will? If you keep trying to carry out your intentions while I am leading you in another direction, you defy your desires. Be on the lookout for what I am doing in your life. Worshipping me by living close to me pleases me. And in every situation, give thanks. Now, those words may resonate with your heart, they may not. But I know for a number of years in my own journey, I guess I have to be honest and say that I experienced spiritual impoverishment. But for me, I guess it was caused by denial. A denial that, whilst my heart was telling me to surrender, my head, my ego center was saying, don't listen to it. So there was a denial presence which was slowly eroding my inner peace. And for many years I was quite happy to play the role of victim. Oh, poor me, hello. But then when the crash came, through experiencing a really black time in my life 14 years ago, and when I say black time, I mean a dark hole. And it took 4 years to get out of that hole. And that hole filled me with real sadness. In fact, it took away my power and my desire to want to live. I felt that my God had abandoned me completely. And all around me there was painful memories and scars. And what is so hard to accept even now is that I did not help matters get better because I chose to remain in denial. That all was well in my miserable life, and that was down to fear. I was afraid. And I guess a lot of my fear came from my religious indoctrination. And I convinced myself that my God was not a loving God, but a God of fear. So I was spiritually in poverty. I was impoverished. And I was struggling. But my head wouldn't allow me admit to it. But then the crunch came. My 9/11 happened for me when on my knees, the only place for me was to surrender my heart to a loving God and take responsibility for that by saying, I am sorry for my willful stubbornness of heart. And then suddenly things began to happen. And slowly and surely, the Supreme brought people into my life who would empower me, reclaim my divinity. And this was done very, very gradually. I didn't have an epiphany or a eureka moment like some in the Pentecostal movement do, where it's hallelujah, I thought I never knew you. I never had that. It was a quiet, unobtrusive, non-offensive inner voice that was saying, come home to me. Allow me love you. Allow me take care of you. And I will help you. Take my hand. And then all of a sudden I was made aware of the beautiful poem, The Footprints in the Sand. And I have to be truthful with you and say, I thought when I read that they were my footprints. But in humility, I have to admit I was wrong. The footprints that I'd seen were that of my loving God, my brother Jesus, my dear friend whom I betrothed my life to, in gratitude for giving me another chance and for carrying me through my darkest hours, hours when I was suicidal, where I manifested disinhibited, disassociated behavior through an adverse drug reaction to Prozac, because in all innocence I was given it to help me fight real depression at the loss of my dear friend. But now I can say with my hand on my heart, spiritual impoverishment is real today for many, many people, and they can get out of it by surrendering their heart to love and reclaiming their divinity as a child of God. Try it. Thank you.